Hello, hello, friends. Thank you for tuning into the Odd Thoughts podcast. At the Odd Thoughts podcast, we like to talk about the everyday odd thoughts, as well as have conversations on just whatever relatable topics and discuss whatever comes to mind. My name is Gunther, and I am your host, and welcome to episode 20. For episode 20, I wanted to talk a little bit about nihilism, the idea of nihilism, which is kind of the idea of like skepticism in life, that life is kind of meaningless, the kind of dread of life. And then I kind of wanted to transition into talking about maybe the idea of a real like a real life Cloverfield situation, like a real life Godzilla or something like that. And then I want to talk about for my third topic, I wanted to talk about hold on, what did I have written down? Sorry. I wanted to talk about being a paranormal investigator, ghost hunting, maybe kind of, how I would actually view it and kind of maybe the possibility of actually seeing a ghost or whatever. And then for the fourth topic, which is, surprise, fourth topic, I wanted to talk about doppelgangers. Something usually not seen as super creepy, but maybe a little more creepy than we think about. So if you want to listen to any of that, then I appreciate you tuning in. Please enjoy. But before we get into before we get into anything else, how's everybody doing? Well, I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm glad that we're here together doing this podcast, and I'm happy to see that you're here with me. I just want to let you know that you are enough. I just want to let you know that I thank you for being around. I thank you for being you. I know that that everybody has these great qualities to them, but also you have some unfortunate flaws. And I think sometimes that those flaws can maybe outweigh the good qualities, at least in our minds at times. But I know that there is no outline to life. There is no guarantee on being capable at everything you do, and you never know how you're going to feel each day. But you should be proud of being here. You should be proud to exist in this world, to get a chance to question yourself as a human. So I'm proud of you for doing you. I'm proud of you for being who you are. Just remember to be true to who you are every single day, no matter how hard that might be some days. Like I said, you are more than enough. And I know that I struggle with that. I struggle with feeling like I'm actually capable of things, that I don't not often see the good qualities that I have. I know they're there. People sometimes tell me about it. Sometimes I could see them kind of shine through too. So I know that that's what's being human. That's what part of human existence is that questioning, right? But we're all just doing what we can do. We're all doing our best. That's kind of the whole thing, is just doing absolutely what we can do best. Not doing the best out of everybody, but doing what we can do best. But I appreciate everybody for coming by. I know that I'm doing okay. I really am. Yeah. We've got around to spooky season, you know what I'm saying? Spooky season, I guess, kind of starts a little early for some people, right when October hits, but I don't ever really feel like I'm in the Halloween season or, that kind of spooky time of year until like 10 days out. So we're at 9 days out of Halloween from Halloween. But I like Halloween. It's kind of it's for me that first holiday in the transition of fall, you know what I'm saying? And fall is probably my favorite season. Arguably, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you don't know what I'm saying. Sorry for saying that. But the temperatures are just a little nicer, and I like the colors, and Halloween's fun. It just like I said, it's that turning of the season for me at least. And I'm always a big purveyor that you can be spooky and scary all year round. You don't have to wait till Halloween to do that kind of stuff, but it feels it's a culturally, or like it's a societal acceptance during Halloween. You can be spooky all year round. It don't matter. But I one Halloween night, as a kid, I remember kind of growing up. It was always just more so about the candy, right? I think kind of. But I definitely had fun people watch. I've always been a people watcher, so watching people in all these different costumes were always kind of cool. As I've gotten older and I see, kids trick or treating in my neighborhood, I get a little reminiscent on like, oh, I remember when I dressed up as a Power Ranger for like 5 straight years or a ninja for like 3 years in a row. You know what I'm saying? It's culture's a little different. Pop culture is a little different. So kids got new characters, but also just getting a chance to watch, my favorite Halloween movies, even. I think I'm someone who can watch horror movies and scary movies all year round, really. I think that's an acceptable thing. But there's certain like Halloween movies I always feel like that I think of during the season, so I have fun doing that. I wish I was a little more involved in that though, a little more involved in the spooky season. I get interested in that kind of stuff. I'm interested in the in the more morbid stuff and the scarier things. Nothing creepy necessarily. I'm a scaredy cat. I can be very honest and say that I'm kind of a jumpy person, and I get freaked out on things, and I quite often will freak myself out on a lot of things. I like to watch like scary videos sitting in my bed late at night and stuff like that. So I do it to myself. And obviously during the spooky time of year, this time coming towards Halloween, that it feels it feels most acceptable. I feel like it's almost like some force that I can't see that pushes me towards the scary content during this time of year. But yeah, like I said, I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm doing okay. We're here listening to the podcast, doing the podcast together. I appreciate the couple days that I've gotten kind of extra on trying to figure out the podcast, and try to figure out the topics I want to do for Halloween and for the next few episodes. Also, restructuring the podcast is what I've kind of done. So hopefully, if everything kind of goes right and I kind of have the, syncopation in my mind that everything will kind of sound correct and whatnot. But yeah, welcome to episode 20, everybody. Um, like I said, I kind of added another extra topic. So without further ado, let's step into the first topic. All right. So for the first topic, I kind of had it's maybe a little bit more of a morbid thought, but kind of goes with the spooky, scary season, at least in my mind. I wanted to talk about the idea of nihilism a little bit. I've kind of confused it for existentialism. But they're similar in the way of questioning life itself, but they're different in what the questions you kind of ask and also the general perception of life itself. So when it specifically comes to nihilism, it's quite often a skeptic view of life. It's often pessimistic in kind of how people see things and often a view of life being meaningless. And I know that at times I feel that I have maybe fed into that kind of idea. I don't consider myself a nihilistic person. I generally think that there is some optimism in the world, and I know that there is good in the world and that there is a purpose to things. But I can't help but to feel dreaded at times. Sometimes I look at maybe how politics are going or our economy or just certain situations from over the sea in other countries, and it makes me fearful for how things are and makes me a little scared on what the future kind of holds. But like I said, for me at least in a personal experience, I usually can overcome that thought. But nihilism really just feeds into that idea that no matter kind of what you do and what your existence is, that there really is no purpose to it. That the knowledge in which humans naturally gain is worthless. There's no purpose in knowing anything, and often maybe even delves into the denying of truth and fact. Also, just tearing down of value. I think everybody kind of has different values in life, right? We all see things as more important than other things. So, but we all have a purpose, or we try to hold a value in our life, whatever we find important. But nihilism kind of holds a opposing view towards that there's no purpose on holding yourself to a standard in whatever it may be. Maybe more so in the question of like morality, even though that's a question in itself. What is moral and what's not? And then also just really the thought of having zero purpose, that you can do all these things like, get a job and, have a family, but it's really, there's no purpose to it. You're just doing it for no reason. And opposing that kind of life affirmation, life affirmation, I think kind of means this kind of good outlook on life, this will to live and a knowing of existence. And I feel that nihilistic people, or that idea of nihilism, often feeds into, like I said, no meaning, that there really is no point to doing the things that we do, that there is no affirmation, there is no real good to being had in life. But that's just a very dreaded way to look at things. I think I can be a little guilty and say that sometimes I do, like I said, I do sometimes think that way, but I wouldn't consider myself a nihilistic person. So that's why I think I often even think about existentialism. Existentialism is more of a question of life just in general, and often trying to find a bigger purpose, maybe. And that's what I kind of like to ask. And those are the questions I kind of ask is, what's life going to be? What's the purpose of it? I think, especially right now, things feel very unsettling in our world. Especially as an American, I can really only talk about American problems confidently more so. Politics are very weird, and it feels weird right now, and the inflation in our economy and stuff like that, and there always feels a general civil unrest amongst people. And I often think I scroll through social media, as a lot of people do, and I see a lot of wholesome and optimistic type content. I do, but I think it really does get a little drowned out by sometimes that more dreaded type content, that negative content. And I think I see a lot of people with this like negative view of the world. This kind of, they don't want to have kids because they don't want to bring kids into a bad world. That our end is imminent type thing. But I think if you look at it that we shouldn't have people to deal with these type of problems, that we need people hands on. You need people to it's okay to question our existence, but you need people to not doubt our existence. I think the kind of sentiment of, oh well, everything's just kind of going downhill, and because this is bad and this is bad, and people are only the rich are only getting richer, and our ozone layer is open, a giant holes opened it, and greenhouse gases or whatever. And like I said, it's not like I don't sit there and think about those things, but I know that we can change those things. When you think about just rolling over and kind of dying or whatever, just rolling over and letting the world steamroll you, it's not very motivating. You're going to constantly kind of put yourself in that what's the point type mindset. I think it's okay to ask what's the point, but you got to then find what the point is. You got to reach sometimes outside of your bounds a little bit. And yeah, things I think in life do have maybe a certain level of meaninglessness. And that's even hard to say because everything maybe does have really a purpose. You know that at least in your mind, you're equating everything you do, or the things you say, or the actions that you take. You know that you are equating it to something, but it doesn't mean that it's always going to equate to what you think. There's a lot of steps to things sometimes, and you don't really know how many steps it's going to take. Maybe you don't know necessarily the mind processing of what it is to be at that certain point. So if we can sometimes try to shift that view, if more people were so willing to think about it differently, and I understand that sacrificing, it feels like it's more sacrifice than it is, reaping of rewards or whatever, that people are giving more than they're actually getting, but there is no outline to say what you deserve or I mean, there's things that you need, but what's the outline? What is it to say? You may need something, but there's a bigger power that doesn't give it to you that way or whatever. Or you feel like you deserve something. Maybe that's even a thing that you kind of get into that nihilistic view because you feel like you deserve a little better. You deserve a certain life. You deserve to be treated a certain way or whatever. I don't think I really know. I don't know if I deserve anything, but I don't want to think dreaded upon it. I don't want to then think that what I do in my life and the little small steps that I take every day don't mean anything because it's all a bigger picture. If I don't go through things and I don't question at least my existence, then I don't think I'm ever really going to understand it. And then when my kids one day, when they ask me what life is about, or you kind of just get those random questions and you get those random moments where you get to tell your kids these things. It comes with a lot of thinking and it comes with a lot of hurt. And hopefully that those bad and dreaded views that we sometimes have and that people have don't last long. And also don't take over the positives. I super just hope that people still have an optimistic view of the world, and I know that I'm going to try to keep it that way even on days where I don't feel great. That maybe even when I don't feel great about my personal life and in my personal day to day, that I still feel great about the world around me. Because I always think that I can be affected positively and negatively by what's happening in the world at any given moment. So I just try to make sure that I am okay, and I try not to think too heavily based off of what I feel on my personal self, and I don't try to reflect that onto the world and how other people are. But yeah, I think I motivate people to question the world. I definitely do. I think it's okay to question what we do and the people around us and the people that lead our country, and it's okay to question what happens in the future. It's okay to feel timid about that stuff. Just don't just don't display it as in it's never going to be better. That it's already written in stone type thing. But yeah, just nihilism was something that I never really even thought of until I looked up existentialism. But yeah, I thought nihilism was kind of something fun to start the podcast off with. But transition into the next topic. Okay. So the next topic for the second topic, I wanted to talk about maybe the idea, without getting too scared, talk about the idea of a real life Cloverfield kind of scenario, or like a real life like Godzilla or something like that. If you've ever seen those movies, those the Cloverfield monster or Godzilla, they're giant monsters. So I wrote down pterophobia is the fear of monsters, and then megalophobia is the fear of large objects. So I couldn't find what the fear of like large monsters were, so I threw those two together. But it's one of those scenarios, at least in my mind, I kind of think of it as maybe an unfathomable thought, or like a not even a real possibility, even more so. I think often because you don't see something or you never experienced it, you may not think it's possible. So what if one day, you're sitting at home and all of a sudden a news broadcast or you're driving to work and the radio broadcast comes on and it's warning you about, like World of Worlds type thing where it's these giant monsters are coming out of the water or, they're rising out of the mountains or something like that. And they're coming to take over or whatever. What's the quickest way? I mean, especially in, I think, today's day and age, I think the announcement of like the monster would be pretty widely, uh, not just accepted, but it would be able to be spread pretty quickly. People would know in seconds, not only just from if you're watching TV, but on your phone. As we get Amber Alerts or weather alerts, we would get a giant monster alert. I wonder if our country has something like that, just in case, or like an announcement for when maybe an alien invasion or something like that happens. It just, it's a what if. But also, I think what was kind of scary, it was when I was kind of writing down the questions or kind of the outline for this specific topic. Thought about, well, what if it's just one monster, right? And when we think of Godzilla, even though in some Godzilla movies he's like fought other monsters, but what if in like Godzilla it's just one monster? Or Cloverfield, it was one monster in Cloverfield, right? I think they made like another movie which kind of suggests that it's like it's multiple monsters or something like that. So that's scary to think about. Is would it just be one giant monster, or would it be like multiple monsters? What would it look like? Kind of would it be this big like arthropod thing, this kind of bug looking thing, or would it be a humanoid figure? Just like a freaking just some big giant human, like Attack on Titans. You know what I'm saying? One would be hard to handle. I don't even know. Like you can't even think about multiple. But again, it's one of those ideas that you can't even really fathom it because it's never happened. Obviously, we've got movies that represent certain things and maybe are realistic to kind of how people will respond. Right? I don't think anybody would be trying to make friends with the monster. I don't. I would probably imagine in my head that the public response would be a mass fleeing. But where do you flee to? Where does this monster like pop up? Like I said, is it like gonna start here and then move over to another country, or like if it's multiple, are they hitting every spot they can? Where are you gonna go? Go in the air? Maybe they can fly. You know, but it would be such chaos. I think nobody would know how to respond to that kind of thing. Maybe even similar to a natural disaster because it kind of it kind of is one of those unforeseen acts of nature, this giant monster all of a sudden terrorizing your life and your the town and country or world you live in. You might just die of a heart attack right off the bat. I think I would just be I'd curl up and just I don't even know what I would do. But people would just be I think trying to barricade themselves, right? I think you'd try to like keep them out, but if it's this giant thing, then it'd crush your house in a second type thing, you'd think. So you could run probably for a while. You probably could get away, get hop in the car and drive off for a few miles and maybe your grandma lives out in the middle of the country or your brother lives towards in LA when you live out in Boston or something like that, but probably is an inevitable that you will encounter that monster and maybe fall fate to it. Or the monsters, you know what I'm saying? But what is even the goal? Like, what would be the goal of a giant monster coming through? To destroy? Just maybe there's some, the monster doesn't know either. Maybe the creature doesn't know either. It would just be lumbering around, confused, just as anything. Just, oh, I don't mean to step. Sorry, I'm stepping on. Oh, I didn't mean to step on your building. Oh, is this your car? Oh, I'm sorry. No, sympathetic monster. But I would be kind of it just nothing would be left eventually, right? Everything would be destroyed and chaos would ensue and who knows how long before everything is totally destroyed. You think about like you could start thinking about supernatural abilities in a monster and what's your scary monster look like, right? Kind of thing. Build your own monster. Level 1. I love character creation in games. Where's my character creation of the scariest monster? If I had to think about, man, truly like the scariest situation or like the scariest monster, it'd be something like Cthulhu, basically. A world eater. That's what the Cthulhu is like a world destroyer or whatever. So just having this big like, man, I'm getting freaked out right now. I got goosebumps literally thinking about this. Just thinking about like a big Cthulhu monster just hopping out the water. God. And you ain't gonna stop it. How are we gonna stop it? Just hopefully every the world just starts shooting nukes at it. Blow it up in the water before it gets out. This probably would be the military. That's the one time that everybody would be behind the military intervention, right? Excuse me. Dude, just start blowing rockets at it. Hopefully we'll get it. But 100% like that would be the scariest situation for me. It would be a big Cthulhu monster coming out the water, or what if it was just like a ascension from the sky? You know what I'm saying? Big old like hole opens up, and you're thinking, oh man, this, you know, is it Armageddon or whatever, or is this when God comes back or something like that? And nope, it's a big scary monster. If you've ever looked at like the biblical interpretations of what angels actually look like, it's scary. They're kind of creepy. It's not just like Michael and Lucifer and those kind of angels or cherubs or something like that. It's they're scary. But would it go away eventually too? Do we just kind of wait until something happens? How long do you even think it would last? I would have the mindset of it lasting forever type thing. That maybe even after all the chaos is kind of done, that it's still going to exist in the world and it's just going to kind of be there. And that's just a world that I can't even think about living in. You know what I'm saying? It, and honestly, something I'll probably never have to think of. I can't really think of a time that a monster ever is going to invade. You know, I kind of like to maybe throw in the idea of what if it wasn't just one big monster or multiple big monsters, but what if it was like, smaller monsters, invading the world we know or something like that. The thing, you know what I'm saying? This vaguely intergalactic whatever monster that assimilates people's bodies and takes over them and is kind of like a copy of them, a doppelganger, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I know that freaks me out. I can't even, like I said, I don't even want to try to fathom that stuff. But nobody will ever have to. Truly, don't think we're getting attacked by any large monsters anytime soon. But yeah, I don't. Whatever your monster may look like, hopefully it will never happen. Like I said, hopefully it'll never happen. I don't know why. I'm freaking myself out a little bit actually thinking about this. So we'll transition into the third topic. All right, so for the third topic, um, kind of maybe on a little bit of a lighthearted, a little more lighthearted, a little bit more. I wanted to talk a little bit about being a paranormal investigator, ghost hunter. Growing up, one of my favorite shows was Scooby Doo. I loved Scooby Doo. I always thought it was cool how they would solve these mysteries, right? And even though they were always people in a mask, it was still cool to see the mystery gang at work. And then eventually like shows like um Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans, you know what I'm saying? And Ghost Hunters, I forget, Grant was one of the guys' names. I just remember that. I was so fascinated with that. And then watching movies like Ghostbusters or when Supernatural, when that show came out, even though that's kind of beyond just ghosts, that's more of the supernatural. But just that idea of otherworldly beings or something like that, and in that investigation and hunting them. Or that's even a question I kind of think of is are you hunting the ghost or hunting the paranormal, or are you just trying to help them in some way, help them move on or whatever? Or is it strictly like you're just trying to heed the warning type thing, they warn you and you warn others? that's kind of um it's something that again I've never seen a ghost, so I don't know if I've felt like I've had a couple paranormal experiences, truly, but I just never have actually seen a figure. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know if I could actually, handle seeing the ghost. Yeah, and I don't think the ghosts have a choice, right? I don't think there's a choice in becoming an apparition, be haunting this world, and that's even the question and the intentions behind any kind of supernatural thing is maybe not even that the choice of that force. Some of it may be malicious, but when a ghost is just trapped in a house, just wandering around for 100 years, that ghost might want to move on to the afterlife and rest. And that's my whole thing is I don't want to hunt the ghost. I don't want to like make them feel like I'm attacking them or something like that. The ghost got feelings too. The ghosts have feelings. I would just want to like know, I think it's more about the curiosity that gets me. I don't know if anybody would ever believe me, and I would do all these put all this time into these investigations, and maybe nobody actually believes what I've seen it or see, you know what I'm saying? Again, I don't even know how I'd handle seeing a ghost, seeing an actual like apparition before my eyes. Maybe I have like a little bit of the backstory so of the person, or maybe what the details of the place you're at is, so it may not throw you off, especially like they always, when ghost hunters go into these places, these haunted places, they have the details. Usually it's like people have experienced enough of things, and there is a story of maybe some mischievous, mysterious things. So usually they go into it with an idea, which also you can kind of build into thinking that you're kind of building it up in your head or whatever, that you're kind of just already putting it in a predisposed place in your mind that you're going to see something, that maybe your mind then plays a trick on you that you're seeing something because so many people have. And also it's like you don't it's hard to tell people that they're wrong, and that what they've seen or what they felt or whatever experience is invalid just because you don't experience it. So that's a lot of the times is like you kind of have to go into paranormal investigation with kind of that empatheticness of, well, people maybe have experienced things, and I got to be open minded to the idea of me experiencing something. Yeah, but actually seeing a ghost. What I just eventually just quit. Like I saw it. I saw the ghost. I hunted. Went ghost hunted, found. I'm gone. Thinking about like even like the scariest scenarios. Like are they friendly ghosts like a Casper scenario, or is it 13 Ghosts? You ever seen that movie? Or there was like a movie in like the black and white, one, but I've never seen that one. Or I think I have, but I'm talking about maybe the one that I'm talking about the one that came out in the early 2000s. Is it evil? Is it friendly? Are multiple ghosts? Are they friendly? Are they evil? Everybody got on the same page haunting this place? Are they all on the same kind of haunt? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. I think of again like trying to think of the scariest possible scenario, right? Would be if it actually touched me, because maybe if I saw the ghost and I knew it was, over there, that it's not as scary because I kind of saw something. Maybe I could even displace it, but if like I felt someone touch me and then turned around and it was like, oh, an apparition, that would be pretty scary. That wouldn't be very pleasant. I don't know, and I don't think I could fight a ghost. I don't have the Ghostbusters. I have the proton. Ooh, what the heck? The proton rays. What are they called? Oh man, I just, I just all my geek credibility just went away right there. Sorry, guys. Just I'm probably only gonna have like a little EVP recording device. Walking around just trying to catch any sort of sound, any sort of anything. And I wouldn't, like I said, I don't want to hunt them. I don't want to capture any ghosts. So I would hope that it could help them move on. give people a warning that maybe just leaving the ghost alone too type thing, right? As people in the real world and the living world, they don't always want to be around others. They kind of sometimes want to be left alone. I think that probably continues on into the afterlife. I'd probably imagine so. But I think even like the scariest place I could think of would be uh, like a school, right? Little dead children are the scariest. I mean, don't get me wrong, if I get charged by a little ghost kid, I'm standing my ground. I'm throwing a front kick right to the face of that little dead kid. Dude, I'm so sorry. It's messed up. That's not kind to do to that kid. He's just a ghost. He don't know any better. Or she. I don't discriminate. But ghost children are inherently more scary and sad too. So not only are you got the goosebumps on the back of your neck, but then you got the tears coming out the eyes too. So um what if it was someone that you knew though too? Like, they were haunting maybe a place that you had it's like a school that you had gone to when you were a kid, and it's being haunted because a teacher had died and that's why the school closed, and oh my God, it was my kindergarten teacher. What the heck? You know? I don't even know. Now, like I said, it's one of those. It's when I get the last topic. It's one of those things where if you don't ever experience it, you'll never know what it looks like. And if it's probably maybe even in hard to believe it's a real thing that people can experience. Even I don't want to belittle people's experiences, but it's hard to sometimes put myself in that idea of it being a reality without having dealt with it myself. But a little adventure too. That's kind of paranormal investigation goes with, you're going to be exploring some, abandoned places or some really old, historical places sometimes. So that spikes my interest more than anything. Because I love history and I love old things like that and in abandoned places. Or I've talked about urban exploring, urbexing, and I still always find a lot of interest in that. So then, throw it with a little bit of that spookiness. I like a little scariness, so throw it in with the ghost hunting and ghost investigation, paranormal investigation, and I kind of just hit two birds with one stone. I don't even where do I sign up to become a paranormal investigator? That's where I want to know. Can I hang out with Zach Bagans? Me and him become best friends? Yeah. Can I be part of the Ghost Adventures crew? Form my own little crew. You know what I'm saying? I always love that stuff, and me and my little sister were always so enamored with that kind of thing. Just thinking about that stuff, true crime, creepy stuff like that. Yeah, and I would do it. I would do it my whole. Probably till the end of my life, I would want to be a paranormal investigator. Be like the Scooby Gang. Even like I said, even though they're finding people in masks and it's a little different, it's not actual ghosts, but I would still have the van. Kind of like yeah, Insidious, right? The old lady has the two investigators that eventually they kind of team up, right? One of the guys is Lee Winnell, who's like the director or he directs like horror movies, and he often works with James Wan a lot. And James Wan, it's either James Wan or Lee Winnell. Like most of the early 2000, mid 2000s, like horror movies that were super successful were those two guys. But yeah, I think would anybody else want to be a paranormal investigator? Do any of y'all think that y'all could handle seeing a ghost and or even believe in ghosts? Because like I said, even I have a question with that. But yeah, let's move on to the fourth topic. All right, so lastly, I wanted to talk about um doppelganger or having a doppelganger. It started off a little bit of kind of just a simple idea of I've never been told that I look like anybody, and I often think that it's because I kind of suffer from generic looking white guy syndrome, you know what I'm saying? I kind of just look like most white guys. So I've never really been told that I have a look-alike, whether it be someone who knows someone or a celebrity look-alike. I've never been told that I look like anyone. So the idea of having another person like me that at least looks like me in the world is pretty exciting, but also kind of creepy because would it just be a lookalike? You know what I'm saying? Where it just looks like you, or are they just not it, but they look like you? Or do you think it would be something where even they're kind of like you? Not just a lookalike, but kind of a twin, kind of a copy. I was reading into some of the creepier kind of ideas of doppelgangers and doppelgangers in some of the creepier like creepypasta lore and kind of urban legend lore is that if you see your doppelganger that it's kind of a sign of death. And that if you consistently see your doppelganger, not necessarily maybe the same doppelganger, but it's like a reoccurring thing where you see lookalikes, that could mean that your days are theoretically numbered. So that's kind of spooky to think that your doppelganger would be kind of your harbinger of death in a way, your grim reaper. And I often question, if I could even recognize myself. I don't think I can confidently. I mean, I could probably describe myself to someone, right? And I know what I look like in a mirror, and if I draw myself, like I'm not a great artist necessarily, but I can kind of draw what I have, my features a little bit. But I don't know if I could actually recognize myself in person. Also, if it was a direct copy of me, maybe that's a little easier. But what if it was like a skinnier version of me, or a shorter, or a taller, or shorter hair, no glasses, blue eyes, those little minutes? Because if it's just like general facial features like that kind of looks similar, it may not feel that eerie to me. I don't think it would be that eerie to see someone that looks like me at all, but if it was an exact copy, even down, like I said, even down to the real like how we function in life, that's scary. Also, what if it was unexpected? Maybe when you're kind of thinking of doppelganger, that you kind of know that someone tells you you look like someone. So you kind of have this idea of someone looking like you or whatever. But what happens if you were just kind of out in public and all of a sudden you came face to face with your exact copy? What would you do? Would you strike up a conversation with yourself? With yourself, that's stupid, but with that person, or would you even acknowledge it? Would you even come up and be like, "Hey, we look alike. This is kind of spooky." Man, that's just if you ever seen the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it's just that creeps me out because in that movie something assimilates people's bodies and acts like them, kind of like a skinwalker kind of thing. They have the vague characteristics of you, and they look like you and they are you, but they're not you. In Invasion of the Body Snatchers, it's way scarier. They're like they don't talk and they make like that weird screeching. You know what I'm saying? Or that not like a screech, but you know what I'm saying. If you ever seen that movie, so then that's what if like you were in a public place, like the movie It Follows, and you look across the way and there you are, exact copy, exact clothes. And once you look at it, it's you guys are now tethered together forever. It like follows you home, and it just follows you everywhere you go, and you might be able to lock it out, but it's there when you open the door, and maybe it's not a malicious thing, and maybe it's just there. Maybe nobody else can see it too. That's scary. That's really the only kind of creepy thing with doppelgangers is if you make it a little creepy, right? And someone looking like you isn't necessarily unusual. Like I said, I suffer from pretty generic white guy syndrome, so I don't think I look very distinct at times. But but if I saw myself, I don't know if even I would recognize myself. And I hope that it's not a sign of death, like how immediate after I see myself is the supposed death supposed to happen? Supposed to. Supposed. Yeah, but one day I think I'll hopefully have someone tell me. Nobody ever tells me I look like anybody, and maybe I don't look like anybody. Maybe I give myself a little less credit than I deserve. Maybe because people don't compare me to something, it's not because of a lack of diversity. It's not a genericness thing. It's more like, well, actually, there are some distinguishable things about my face. I got like some scars on my face that are pretty unique to me. Not unique in the sense that I'm the only people that have them, but they're prominent on my face, and I have like a mole on my nose that is pretty prominent. Things like that appear in my left ear. I have like a little like bit of it like chunked out, not a big chunk, but it's literally like it's like a little piece like flipped out. So I know that I would maybe be able to recognize certain features of myself, but like everything else would be maybe a little more blurry, a little more blurred out. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. But yeah, just a little bit of talking about that. That's really all I have to say about that, though, friends. All right, everybody. I appreciate y'all listening to episode 20 of the Odd Thoughts podcast. I really do appreciate the opportunity to come up on the microphone and just talk to y'all, and I appreciate anybody that listens. And if y'all ever want to engage with me on these podcasts in the comments, then I really would appreciate that, truly. If you want to listen to any of my episodes, this one included, I always have them on YouTube or Spotify podcast. It's under the Odd Thoughts podcast. You know what I'm saying? Pretty convenient. If you find this relatable at all, like I said, or enjoyable, I appreciate if you subscribe to my channel, to my podcast. Also, if you want to follow me on my social medias, I have a Facebook and I go by Gunther Getlicker on that. Both those G's are uppercase. I have a Instagram as well, Gunther underscore Getlicker. Both those G's are lowercase. And then I also have a Twitter, which goes by at one Mike GG. But I appreciate everybody for listening. I love everybody. Just remember to show up for yourselves every single day and be excellent to each other.